أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي صدق الله العلي العظيم. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So we continue with the 11th in our series in this basic Arabic grammar course. A number of you requested that I do a revision lesson or two, so I've put that together, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it in one lesson, so let's see over the next two lessons. We'll try and cover as much as we can in terms of a revision before we carry on with the forms of the verbs. Okay, so we're going to start off from the very beginning. We started off with what the English alphabet consists of, which is exactly 26 letters. And these letters are consisting of both consonants and vowels. In other words, within the alphabet A, B, C, D, the A, E, I, O, U are the vowels, and the remaining ones are consonants. Also, how English is written, it can be written in small letters as well as capital letters. And it can be written like independent, like letters, or else in the cursive or joint script as well. But the cursive used to be done in the old handwriting that we were taught once upon a time. But nowadays, it's all typewritten, so it's all separate letters that get joined in order to make letters and words and sentences. Right, the Arabic alphabet is very different. It's got 28 letters. And the one fundamental rule is that in writing Arabic, you must join whatever letters can be joined. Now, there are a few letters that you cannot join a letter to, and these are the alif, these four letters here, and then even the waw and the ya, right? So these are letters that when you're writing a word which has these letters in it, once you come to one of these letters, whether it's in the initial or in the medial or in the final position, you need to, like, as it will, lift your pen up and then carry on with the next letter of that particular word. There's no like hand or arm that links these letters that I've highlighted with the next letter. So whichever position they are in, you cannot join these to a next letter. Whereas all the other letters are joinable. That's one rule. And secondly, some letters appear in different formations. So if you look at these two here, like the letter Ain in the middle will look a bit different. And the letter Ain at the end will also look like that. And then we have the letter Ha, for instance. The Ha looks quite different. In the beginning, it looks like that. In the middle, it looks like that. In the end, it looks like that. So there are different shapes that certain letters take on when writing. Also, what we need to remember is the alif, waw, and ya, the ones that are indicated in purple text, are also regarded as weak letters. Now, this being the case, they are weak. What happens is in certain word formations, they appear, and in other formations, they get changed to something else. Like one example is scholar, which means he said. If you notice, there's an alif in the middle, and this alif becomes a waw when we have to change it into the present tense of this particular verb, which is scholar, he said, and this becomes he is saying or he says. So this is another unique feature of some of the words that have these weak letters in it, that sometimes they change to something else, and sometimes they just get omitted because you can't pronounce some of those vowels that are on it when they are put together with two of these weak letters together. Okay, so the primary use of the vowels in Arabic, we use, there are three short vowels: the sound, the I sound, and the U sound, right? So this is the sound, fatha, the I is the kasra, and the dhamma is the U sound, right? And we've got an example of kataba, and I'll try and use kataba throughout the course of this revision. So you have a ka with a fatha says ka, right? Ka with a kasra says ki, and ka with the dhamma gives you ku, that sound. So that's how the vowels work in Arabic. You put these harakat or vowel signs above or below each letter. This is more for us as non-Arabs. We need to put it so that we know how to read it. But if you look at an Arabic newspaper today, in the Arab world, they don't actually use these vowel signs. They know how to read the text even without vowel signs in it. But inshallah, we study hard, we can also get to that stage. Right, then we have a double last, a double vowel on the end word, end consonant. So you can have an, in, or the un. There's a double vowel, or double fatha, double kasra, and double dhamma, giving you fathatin, kasratin, and dhammatin. Okay, so that's another kind of a vowel sign. We call that a tanween. All right, then we have long vowels where can also give you an sound, and the I can give you an e sound, and a u can give you an u sound. So here's an example of a u, nur. Here's an sound, babun, and ilmi. This mi gives you the e sound, this double I. Right? So double kasra, double fatha, and double dhamma, as it were. Right, then we have the three broad categories of words in Arabic. We have nouns, we have verbs, and we have particles. Now, essentially, nouns are words referring to people, places, things, ideas, emotions, etc. Verbs are doing words or action words or states that people are doing something in. It could be he wrote, could be he writes now, or he will write. So you can have like tenses as well coming into verbs. And you get also moods, like different ways of using the verb for different effects or different purposes. Then you have particles, which are words that are very static. They basically stay the way they are. No matter where they are in the sentence, they will stay like that. Sometimes these particles can be joined, like a letter B can be joined by, so billahi, for instance, right? The B can be joined to a word, but essentially it's still a B, right? That B, so that's a particle. It basically stays that way no matter where it appears in any sentence or any word. Right, so the main building blocks of the language are essentially all the parts of speech and some other unique features. So the first one is a noun. We said it's a name of a person, place, thing, or idea. In kitabun is a common noun, like baytun, madrasatun, all these are common nouns. We come across it very often. Then we have proper nouns, names of specific things, either cities, persons, countries, etc. And then we have abstract nouns, something that you can't touch, right? But you can feel. Like Saada is an emotion that you can experience. So those are abstract nouns. Then we have adjectives that describe or modify a noun. So you can say a kitabun jamilun. You can take this word and join it to an adjective, and then you get a little phrase saying a beautiful book, kitabun jamil, or kitabun kabir, which is a large book, or kitabun saghir, etc. So adjectives describe or give more meaning to a noun. Then we have a pronoun, a word used in place of a noun. For instance, huwa, hiya, anta, ana, nahnu, etc., which means he, it, they, she, we, us, you, etc. Those are pronouns. Then we have verbs, verbs that expresses action. Yajri is to run. To run, this is the present tense. There's a ya in front. There's a alif nun yata in front, and the verb jara is the verb. Yaktubu is also present tense. There's a ya in front, and there's a kataba, the actual root, telling us that it's to do with something to do with writing. Right, then we have adverbs. These are words that modify a verb or an adjective or another adverb. It tells you how, when, where, or to what extent that thing was being done. Whether it was done quickly or slowly, whether it was done like very fast, whether it was done like yesterday or tomorrow, or it's going to get done, or whatever the case is. So adverbs give us a little more meaning to that verb or adjective that it's describing. The preposition is a word used to express something in a sentence where you want to say the book is on the table. So on is an example of a preposition, and it is next to the pen. So next to will also be another preposition, and it's in the bag. So it's in is also another preposition. So these words just kind of connect different parts of the sentence, giving a bit more meaning to something that's being described. All right, then we have conjunctions, which are connecting words, like a junction in a railway station. You have two lines that come together. So these things just connect words, phrases, etc. So you have were as a very common one. For is also another one, which means also and. Lakin is but, o is or, and there are a few others as well. Right, then we have interjections, which are like something to express emotion, like in the Quranic example for wailul lil musallin. It's just not it's not mildly like cursing the musallis who pray, but it's using wail, meaning it's trying to show intensity of emotion in terms of what kind of people that are praying that do these kinds of evil acts that Surah talks about. All right, so that's an interjection. Then we had interrogative particles. These are particles that introduces a question. And normally you start the question with one of these words, either hal or a. So you put the hal in the question. Hal anta talib, and naam ana talib, or la ana mudarris. So naam or la is the kind of answer that the hal question will prompt. Then we have ma and mada, which means what. Ma we use for nouns, right? So ma ismuka, what is your name? Ism is a noun. In mada we use for verbs. Tafal, what are you doing? Right? So for verbs we use mada, and for nouns we use ma. Essentially, they both mean what. We have mata to ask for time. When are you going to wherever? And then you can give the answer is I'm going to be going tomorrow, or today, or now, or whatever the case is. Man is a question to ask who is your friend, man sadikuk, and who are Ahmed. And kaifa means how are you? And you say I am well. So kaifa is how. And then we have aina is where, and then kam is how many. You want to count something or give a number as an answer, and become is also how much in terms of money when you're counting. Like if you want to ask the price of something, you use become something. Okay, now sentence structure. Essentially, there are three case endings in Arabic. I've used these words often: nominative, accusative, and genitive. Right? Now, if the subject of the sentence, then you use the nominative case ending, which is a dhamma or a double dhamma, where you see at the end of kitab, which is the nominative, so the subject way of using the word al-kitab in a sentence. If you want to make the word kitab appear as the object or after a verb, then you use the accusative form, which is the one fatha or the double fatha. And then if you want to indicate, use it in a genitive case, normally if it's after a preposition, like if you want to say fil kitab, fil kitab, then you use fi in front, and kitab becomes genitive in case. And this means in the book. Or if you want to just say fi kitabin, it can also be correct, which is in a book, not the book. So this is the way we use, and I'll show you an example of a sentence where these three cases are explained. Right, so here's one example. Now you have nominal sentences, which are essentially sentences that have many nouns. There's no verb in it. Or you can have a verbal sentence where there is a verb in it, right? So if you look at a verbal sentence, yes, kataba, which means a verb, means to write or wrote in the past tense. It's a past tense verb. Ahmad is the person doing the action. And so the doer is normally the subject, right? The subject is the doer. Then we have the verb, and then on whom that thing is being done. Like Ahmad wrote, what did he write? A letter. This word becomes on what the action was done, or the end result of doing that action. A letter emerged out of all that action that he did. So this is a simple structure of a verbal sentence where you can start with the verb and then put the noun after it, which is unique to Arabic, because in English we always say Ahmed wrote the letter. We don't say wrote Ahmed the letter, if you look at the sequence here, right? So there's two ways. In English, we only use Ahmed wrote the letter, but in Arabic, we can say it in two ways. We can put Kataba in front of Ahmed, or we can even put Ahmed in front of Kataba, and it will still be perfectly correct. Ahmed Kataba al-Risala. Right? So there are two ways of writing this sentence, starting with the verb or starting with the noun, but they both make it a verbal sentence. And here you can see the case. This is the doer is nominative, and the object is the accusative in case. And kataba is the verb, doesn't have a case. We mentioned that one big difference between nouns and verbs are in nouns we can have case. Verbs we have mood and tense, which is unique to verbs, whereas nouns have other features and verbs have also other distinct features. Okay, so that's a simple example of how we use nominative and accusative case. Then we talked about how Arabic is based on a system of roots and then patterns. So if you look at the three-letter verb, kataba, right, this means he wrote. And through inflection, right, in other words, by adding something either in the beginning of the verb or at the end of the verb, we can change or morph that verb into meaning something else. Right? For instance, this katabtu here, this example means I wrote. We did some of the verb conjugations already in the past tense. We said, if you want to say, we wrote, it will be katabna. Right? If it is just he wrote, it's kataba. Right? She wrote will be katabat. So it's basically in the past tense, we're just changing things in the end here. Right? All the suffixes change to give you past tense verb in the inflected ways, right? Or in ways in which they are changed or morphed. If you look at the present tense, here we have alif, nun, yata that comes in front. Alif for I, nun for we, ya for he and they, and ta for she, as well as all the yous. Right, so the alif, nun, yata in front is prefixes, and then we have sometimes suffixes as well, like una, which means they are writing ina, etc. There are some suffixes as well. We've done that in the present tense table to show you how verbs get inflected. So we have inflection due in the beginning and at the end of the three-letter verb to give you different tenses or persons doing that action. And from this root kataba, we get all these verb forms. Then we get even what is called the derived forms, which are generally nouns with having kataba in it in one way or the other. Like if you look at here, there is kataba in this word here, kataba, with the alif inside. Can you see? So this kitabun with the dhammatain shows that it's a noun form, right? You can't have this tanween or double fatha on a verb at all. So that's just a feature of a noun that differentiates it from a verb. Then we have katibun, which means a writer. So if you look at the alif is in a different position here. It's the second letter here. It was the third letter. Can you see that? It was kataba, kata, and then the alif there. Here it's kaf, alif is in front. It makes it the writer or the scribe, the person doing the writing. Then we have the memes coming into play as well. Like this shows an office or the desk, maktab. Then a maktab with the ta marbuta at the end gives you something else, which is the place, maktaba, which is a library or a bookstore. And then something that's written, also the meme in front and a wow coming in, changing it to a letter or a written document. So these are derivative forms from that verb kataba. And this what you're seeing now is important when you want to use an Arabic dictionary, because any word that you want to check up in a dictionary, you have to identify what are the three main letters. It could be kataba, fa'ala, darasa, laiba, any three-letter verb. Once you know that the root form, you can then do the past tense, then you can do the present and future tense. You can do all the different moods, right? The just subjunctive, imperative, etc. So from there, in the verb three-letter form, a word, you can actually derive like all these different tenses and moods. Likewise, if you add alif or wows or memes and tamil butas and all the rest of it to it, you can then derive a whole lot of nouns from that same root verb or root word. And that's what gives it the richness of this language. That from one sort of small or one basic root form, you can get like literally tens and sometimes even hundreds of words. Because if you add, this table here, this past tense, it gives you 15 different words from there. In the present tense, it gives you another 15. If you add the jussive and subjunctive and imperative, it gives you another about 30, 40 words, right? So all in all, just on the verb side, you can get like 40, 60 words coming out of this root. And likewise, on the noun side, I've just given you a sample here of 5, but even this one can be, probably you can get another maybe 10 out of it. And even this, like kitab, we know is one book. If you say kitabani or bani, it will be 2 books. It will be kutub, will be plural of books. Yeah, katib will be katibuna, katibina for making plural, una, ina, giving you the masculine plural forms. Then you have katibatun, if it's a female writer. Then you'll have katibat, atun and atin coming in to give you the 2 plural forms there. Maktab, you get makatib. Maktaba, you get maktabat. Maktub, you also get maktubat. So, you can add the duals and the plural forms on all these noun forms, and you get a whole lot of other words that come out of these base noun words as well. So you can see how from one root you can sometimes get a 2-page, 3-page entry in a dictionary, just talking or describing all the different meanings of the root form kataba in it. That's something for people that really want to study and need to invest in a dictionary. And this is what you get out of a dictionary: all the inflections and all the derivations of the root form that you see. Okay, then another concept that we have is number. We said in English we just have 2 ways of saying things, either singular or plural. Like you say one book and many books, one man, many men, right? One mouse, many mice. And also, if you notice in the plural form, there's different kind of plurals that come about, right? Different spellings, different ways of saying it. So even English has got what is called broken plurals. Not every plural takes the same as to make it plural. Right? Some takes like a change in spelling. The A becomes an E. Here it changes completely. Here it changes to an EN. Here you change the F to a VES. So each of these are like what in Arabic we call broken plurals, right? And we have in Arabic also broken plurals, right? So there's no general rule that applies in English, and each group is unique. And the best way to learn these things is we as native speakers, we just acquire it naturally. But people who want to learn English, they have to actually study this thing, that ox is oxen and not oxes, and knife is knives and not knives. So these are things that as a foreigner, you need to learn these things. But as a native speaker, it comes naturally to you. So in Arabic, being a kind of a foreign language to us, we need to learn these rules to make our Arabic understanding easier. All right, the other unique thing in Arabic is we've got a dual. So we've got a singular, dual, and a plural. Right? So that's three ways of expressing a word. The other concept that we use very often is these words prefix, infix, and suffix. A pre means before, like it precedes the word. In is inside, inserted, right? And suffix is just that comes at the end of the word, right? So here's an example from right to left. This is a prefix, this is an infix, and that's a suffix, right? So that's just to remember that Arabic is right to left. So that's why you can see the color on the right-hand side of the word. All right, then let's start off with the singular. It refers to one item or person. So it's a basic form of the noun, like kitabun is a singular book, one book. Then when we add the suffixes at the end, ani and ani, we get kitabani or kitabeni. And this gives us the 3 cases that we talked of earlier, right? So this is the subject of a sentence, the object, and here it appears after the position or in daf or whatever the case is. We'll see examples of it just now. All right, then we have, all right, so that's the kitabani, kitabaini. That's one word. And I'm showing you another word here that, and why I'm showing you this word is there's, see, some words end in ta marbuta, which is the feminine indicator, madrasatun. Now, when you want to change from this ta, this word to that word, notice what happens to the ta. It changes to an open ta. Ta marbuta, which is the tied ta, or the ta that looks like a circle, changes to a ta maftuha. Maftuh means to be open. So the ta maftuha replaces the ta marbuta, and then you add your ani or any, as you see in these examples. Right, so any word with a ta marbuta, that's how you change it to the dual form in the different cases. Okay, then we are going to plural. So there are two main categories. The one is called a sound one, right? This is one category. There's a masculine and a feminine version of it. There's a masculine has got una or ina as the ending, and the feminine has got atun or atin, right, as the case ending. So here's one example. Muallim is a male teacher, right? You notice there's no ta marbuta. Here there's a ta marbuta, so this is feminine, and this is masculine without the ta marbuta. Then we have, this becomes muallimuna, muallimina. Can you see the una, ina coming in there? And the atun, atin coming in at the end there. Right, and then you can add your al as well in front if you want to make it there. All right, so this is the one kind of plural. And here's your example in a graphic form, in a table form. So those who are visual, you might understand this easier. Muallimun becomes muallimuna, and mualliman and muallimin becomes ina, same one, right, for both accusative and gender. Likewise with this one, muallimatun, ta marbuta, changes to the open ta here. And notice that actually this ta gets replaced by this whole suffix at, right? And there's an open ta at the end. So you don't add your atun to the ta. So you don't make it muallima tatun. It's muallima matun, actually. Muallimatun, the way you said it. And so you must remember that the ta marbuta falls away and gets replaced by an atun or an atin. Okay, then we have and this sound masculine refers generally to male human beings as a category, but there are some exceptions where some words do take sound masculine, but they're not referring to male human beings. So this is an example of the teachers, muallimuna, arrived, the verb, and then at the school, ilal madrasati. Right? So here, because this is the subject of the sentence, the teachers, use the una version of the noun plural form, right? And whereas if you look at this sentence here, the A2 means I saw. So here's your subject, here's your verb, this is your object. Now this is why muallim here becomes ina, right? Because it's the object of in this particular sentence. So the A2 muallimina. So not muallimuna as you saw in this example here. Now it's muallimina because it came after the verb in the subject. And if it's in a sentence where you want to say something with teachers in the class, then you use with is the preposition. And we said after a preposition, the next word must be genitive in case, and that ina is genitive as well. Right? Here you have fi is another preposition, and notice fossil is another genitive, fossily. Right? So these prepositions make the next word always genitive in case. Right, sound feminine plural is referring to mainly female human beings and sometimes to other things as well. So here's an example of talibatun. So this becomes, with this ta marbuta, you notice it changes to the taliba, and then you add an atun at the end, right? Talibatun. So here's an example of talibat in a sentence where students, female students, went. Right? So this is your verb. Here's your subject, the doer of that sentence. And what did they do? They went to the school. The verb subject, and then the remaining part, because of the preposition here, this became a genitive here. All right, this is an example of the accusative of talibat, right? Atun and atin. So here's atun, here's atin. So shahadtu, I watched. So here's your subject, verb, and this is object here. right? Female student, so therefore it's accusative in case. And then here we have kutubu talibatin. This is we've done this as an idafa construction. We will do again just now. So the books of female students, it all comes in there. So this is the idafa construction. And this is another way of, making a word genitive. Is when you use it in an idafa as a second word in an idafa construction, because this books of the female students is an idafa. Right, then this one here, inna, we said is the unique particle. So inna, the subject is Allah actually. Notice the subject here is accusative. Normally subject is nominative, but inna, it reverses the order. So it makes the object, the subject accusative in case, and all the qualities becomes like the subject as it were. Right? So that takes the nominative case. Now, why I'm showing you this example is because it's used in this Quranic example that we cited, where we had all the sound masculine and the sound feminine plurals. Like if you look at inna is here's your particle, and then this is your accusative genitive case, right? So this is the una ina, the sound masculine plural, right? In the accusative case. This is the sound feminine plural in the accusative case. Right? So can you see the ina here and the ati? Because of the al there, it's one kasra here. Likewise, here there's the al, there's muslimina. Right? So in all of them, if you find here's your sound masculine plural, sound feminine plural. Right? So the ina, the ati. قانتين قانتات صادقين صادقات صابرين صابرات خاشعين خاشعات متصدقين متصدقات صائمين صائمات حافظين and حافظات and وذاكرين وذاكرات. Right, so up to there is all these the other part, and then the actual Allah has in store or hold in store for them maghfiratan wa ajran azima. So this is an example of the usage of the sound masculine, sound feminine plurals as referring to human beings, right? Where you have male and females doing all these good deeds that what Allah has in store for them. So this is just a good example of all the sound plurals in one ayah. All right, then we move on to the second type of plural, which is a jamu taksir, where we have words, and these are examples of singular words that are just different in many ways, right? So if you look at the number of letters, like this one is a 4-letter word, this is a 2, this is a 3, this is a 3, right? So the number of letters can differ. The voweling shape can also differ. Like you have this formation like a kitabun. Here you have a rajulun. Here you have sanatun. So this and this is almost the same in terms of the voweling signs. Can you see? No, here it's rajulun. Here it's sanatun, right? So that's also a change there. And this one is also nabiyun, is different. So you can see the use of fatha, kasra, dhamma on the first 2 letters differs from word to word. But what appears at the end is the un form as a common denominator of all these words in the singular form, the un representing the nominative case. Then you have the an in the accusative and in the genitive case. So if you take this word kitabun, now how do you know it's supposed to be kutubun and not like in this form kita? Well, kitabun is actually this kind of a form of word, but not katawatun or katatun or katabatun or something. It's none of it's not this form here, and it's definitely not this one, because if you look at how many letters here, there's many new letters that came in here. Nabi is the root here. The alif, ya, and alif, all different letters came into this word to give you the plural form. So what I'm getting at is kitab gave you a form called kutub, right, as a plural. Rajulun gives you rijal. Sanatun gave you sanawat. And Nabi gives you Ambiya. So these, if you see, just these 4 examples, they are each is different from the other. And there might be other words like this that take this kind of plural, or even like this kind of shape of plural. There might be other words, right? But in essence, there's this group of kind of broken plurals. There's this one, like we had knife and knives, and then we have wives also. That would be like one group, right? And here we have another group, and oxen, the en comes in one group. Then you have another group. So in Arabic and English, these are common like things, and for foreigners to a language, unfortunately, we just have to learn it the way it is, which is kitab is kutub and not something else, or rajulun is rijal and not something else. So it's something you just have to learn. With the singular, you have to learn the plural so that when you have to use it, you're using the right form of that particular word. To give you other examples, now here you have, we're talking of human beings, right? So here you have a male student. This is talib, right? Notice what happens to talib becomes tulab. But talibatun, the feminine version of that, the student, is the stomach butaya in the singular. And look at what happens here. You're using sound feminine plural here, not a broken plural. Can you see the atunatin? Tilmiz became talamiz. There's this extra alif and different things that happen here. So this is a broken plural. Then you have tilmizatun, again giving you a sound feminine plural, atunatin. Right? So this is like a common feature here in terms of the human being. But you look at bint is a bit unique in that the ta is not a ta marbuta here. Here it's the actual open ta, right? The ta maftuha, where here you have the atun atin coming in again, but the ta just like kind of gives space to one other letter, the alif in between, right? And then you had your ta coming in there, right? So banatun written like this. Okay, and notice also walad, what happened to it. It became olad. So if you look at this one, and this one is totally different broken plurals, even in human beings, the plural form of the masculine. Whereas with the feminine, at least there was some kind of a pattern where you had sound feminines coming into the play rather than broken plurals. All right, so kutub we did, sayyara, sayyaratun is singular and sayyarat becomes feminine plural. Even the sayyara is a car, it's not a human being, but you notice that sound feminine plural can be used for like objects or things as well. Like sayyara is one example. And then you have another example of imratun, where it's got the ta here, but it doesn't become imra'atun and atin. Now notice this also is unique, right? The singular doesn't become what you'd expect of sound feminine to take that form. It instead takes a whole new word, nisa. Got nothing to do with imra, right? In terms of spelling, in terms of common, consonants or whatever is in the word. So this is another unique thing about broken plurals. It's sometimes for masculine it breaks the rule, sometimes for feminine it breaks the rule. But with time you get used to seeing it and you get used to it. Okay, then we have kitabun. So here's examples of in the nominative case un, right? But notice what is happening here. Here it's a broken plural, right? And here it takes a sound, a feminine singular. Mufid, mufidatun. Mufid is useful in masculine and mufidatun is female singular. So what happens here in broken plurals is the adjective takes a feminine singular. This is a rule that you see in these words here. So here also qara'atu kutuban. And notice kutub is the same like this. Right? And jadidatun is the singular, feminine singular here. Now why is this an and not only? Because here you have your subject is I, your verb is your read, and then your books are your object. Right? So the books, and then jadida is the adjective describing books. We put the adjective after the noun in Arabic. Therefore, you have qara'atu kutuban jadidatan. All right, and then we have an example of an idafa, khilafu kitab kutubin, the cover of books. Right? We notice this, the first noun doesn't take an al, it can be any case, and the second noun can take an al, cannot take an al, that's fine. The main thing is it has to be genitive in case. That's how it's genitive here in the Idafa construction, second noun. Also, this preposition makes this noun genitive. All right, so here's examples of how you use sometimes broken plurals with the adjectives and the fact that adjectives have to become feminine, singular. Just a unique feature of broken plurals and when they appear in sentences. Right, whereas if you look at sound masculine plural, una, and if the verb is to study, you have the yadrusuna, the ya, alif, nun, yata for present tense, and the una form coming in at the end for they. Third person masculine plural, right? So teachers are studying. This is in agreement. Can you see the una, the language? Then another example where you put a verb in front. So I saw. So this is your verb in the subject, right? Therefore, this is object. Therefore, it's ina there. And then classrooms again. Fossil is one. Fusul is plural. So there's another unique broken plural there. In this one is I am with. As with is a preposition. Therefore, this takes ina here. So you notice this also agrees in the una ina context. All right, so that covers the plural forms. Then we go on to gender, and maybe this will be the last concept for today. We have three genders in English, which is male, female, and this one here, which is the where we talk of inanimate objects, and we normally use the pronoun it to refer to these things, right? Right, Arabic grammar has only got two genders. It's got a masculine and feminine. And this applies to nouns, pronouns, verbs, adjectives. A lot of words have to agree in gender as well. Right? And nouns are classified either masculine or feminine, and with related words that to the noun must agree in the gender. Right, now, which words are considered feminine? Now, it's pleasing to note that most words are masculine. It's just easier to remember. Most things, 60-80% are just masculine anyway. So that is out of the way. Then we have feminine. It comes in certain like categories or right. So the one is the obvious one, which you can see a mile away. When you see a ta marbuta at the end of a word, you just know that all words with ta marbutas here, they are feminine. Right? So some of them would be like a flower, we know they are male and female, that in terms of nature as well as in animals. But generally, like you just look for a ta marbuta and you know that word is feminine by its by the virtue of its spelling. And then the second category is just by their meaning. Like all this group of people are always women. You don't have a man, girl, or a boy, girl kind of thing. You don't have gender fluidity in Arabic. It's either this or that. It's male or female, and it's clear cut. There's nothing in between. Right? So these are examples of words that are considered feminine. So if you know the meaning of it to be this, then you know that it's obviously this here, whether it's got ta marbuta or doesn't. This one does have, but even if it doesn't have it, you know that these words have to be feminine. All right, then this third one is a category called, but just by conventional use, parts of the body that appear in pairs, you use that, and if there's an adjective to it, you know that that adjective has to be feminine as well. Right, so if you want to say a big eye, you'll say aynun kabiratun. And because kabir is masculine, kabiratun or the ta marbuta will make it feminine. So aynun kabiratun will describe a big eye. Right? Or blue eye would be azrak is masculine blue and zarqa is feminine blue. So you have aynun zarqa. Right? So it will be a blue eye referring to the eye that's female. Right? Even though a boy might have blue eyes, but that's how you'll describe Ainun Zarqa is feminine because the eye is a part of the body in pairs. Right, then there's few words that for no reason, like sun, fire, wind, soul. The Quran is very specific about these, and I've shown you Quranic examples of this where this is used for the feminine. So Shams, amazingly, is feminine, but moon that follows it is masculine. So in the orbit, sun and moon, how they rotate and all that. One is feminine, one is masculine, each moving or floating in his own orbit. All right, then proper nouns are treated as feminine just by convention. And then the other rule here is, I showed you this, where you have a plural here, broken plural. This must be feminine singular. Here you have, even though this is male human beings, you notice you have female singular adjective because this is a broken plural. All right? And here is also broken plural. This is feminine singular. Okay, and gender in adjectives, adjectives always come after the noun. So it's quite strange. Like we normally say in English, a hardworking student, right? But in Arabic, you have to say talib mujtahid. You have to say student hardworking, or student excellent, mumtaz. Right? So you'd say talib mumtaz, talib tawil, a tall student. So you use talib first and then the adjective at the end. So this is, and then obviously it must also agree. So you have taliba, then it's mujtahida, or taliba mumtaza, a taliba kabira. So you first put the noun, then you put the adjective. Right, and just one last rule about gender and agreement. Where if you're describing a feminine object or a masculine object, this is how it happens. So if you want to say, do you describing the car to be big? So the car is big. That sentence, there's the car is big. You say the car and big at the end. And then if you want to use a pronoun to describe what car is, then you use it, the here form, not the who form, because here is feminine. It is fast, and here it is slow. Right? So this is just an example of how you use, even the pronouns have to agree gender with whatever you are describing or talking about. All right, I think time is up for today. We'll continue in the next lesson with the continuation of this revision. I hope this was helpful. But I think as we get to the other sections as well, we find that things will like kind of now fit more into place. There'll be a more deeper understanding of concepts, hopefully a better application of these concepts as well when you do the worksheets that you are doing on your own. Okay, with that we'll end with Wal Asr. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wal Asr, innal insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu s-salihat, wa tawasaw bil haqq, tawasaw bis sabr.